Good afternoon, guys. How are we all doing? I hope we're having a good week. Today's session is a bit late, but it's always good late than never. So let's see what we got for today. So I'm going to quickly jump to C3, which is already in motion with cells. Setup is pretty much clear cut here, but I'm just going to touch into it. So, okay, let me just see who's jumping into the session. All right, struggling to get in. All right, so we're going to start off with C300 from our last session. I'm sure that's where we marked these levels. These levels, price was bullish for the most part, and it was being held by this level here. So we had a touch. We actually had a third touch, but what actually ended up happening, price came back below the zone. So that was a change in price delivery direction, which changed the bias here. So price then retested that same zone today to give us this sell. So I'm just going to jump to the daily. Let me see how far we can drop. So I'm looking forward for price to most likely. I'm looking forward for price to most likely drop to the 13 EMA or the 200 EMA, which is the current dynamic um, support zone. And we could also get price drop as low as the 38.2 fib retracement level. The fib is just based off this impulsive move here. So if price is going to continue pushing up, we're just saying price will most likely retrace to this area. We might get a deeper retracement jumping into the 50.0% fib retracement level, which is almost in line with the zone and this order block. So excuse me, that gives us that sell bias. So I'm going to jump to H4. Nice rejection of that level we're working with, which we spoke on H1. Then when we jump to H1, that's the sell which we have. So we've got this high and we've got this order block and this order block. So I'm going to mark my points of interest, and we'll simply wait for price to get into those areas before we execute. So we've got this order block which price left as it pushed down, and we've got this order block which has just been broken at this point in time. Those are my 2 points of interest. If I'm to sell, I'm looking for price to retrace into this imbalance, which is in line with the order block we marked. And I'm looking forward for price to most likely retrace here. So it's point of interest number one, point of interest number two. So those are the only points of interest which I have at this point in time. It would have been best to actually catch this setup here at this retest. That would have been the best entry, but I wasn't on charts at that moment, and I'm not sure if anybody managed to catch that setup. So there is my fair value gap and the order block, point of interest, and this one. So I'm going to leave this on M15 and we'll just wait for price on those areas. C500 continued to drop yesterday. I believe we spoke about this level. We're waiting for price to either extend the high, come back up here, or to break this level. So they ended up breaking for a nice scalp sell, and they ended up retesting as well for a continuation of the sell. So I hope you guys managed to catch that sell yesterday. Looking at it today, I would love to just check the daily, see what we have. So again, we are right between the 13 EMA and the 50 EMA, which are both dynamic support and resistance points. Most likely price can go either way. So as long as we have no bias, the next time frame we look at is the H1. On the H1, we can only sell if price comes back below the 13 EMA. That's number one. From the current market price, we can only sell if price breaks this order block here. I'm actually going to use a red line instead of a gray zone. So if we break 45.30, let's just say 45.30. If we break 45.30, I'm looking forward for sales, and I'll be targeting yesterday's lows as a TP or potentially lower. But first, we need to break 45.30. By the time we break 45.30, we should be below the 13 EMA, and I'll be looking forward for that sell. So for now, I'll say we can leave this on H1 so that we can just pay attention to it. At the same time, I'm also looking at price to come back retest yesterday's zone, which is this red line, which you guys see. So if we can come around that area, between that area and the 200 EMA, so between these two moving averages, that's also a point of interest. So it's either we're taking sells here or we're taking a potential sell there. Those are my 2 points of interest on C500. So I'm going to leave it on H1 and we'll just keep stalking on it. C5 stalking for a pullback. Sorry, C3 we are stalking for a pullback. C5 we're stalking for price to either tap into this level or to actually come back below the 30 EMA to signify a continuation of the sell so that we can execute. Again, I'm not sure if any of you guys caught C1000. Also looks like it's already played out. What we had here was a nice downtrend from this high. So the first sell happened at the break of this level and a retest. Second sell happened at the break of yesterday's lows, which was this lower high and this order block broken. I'm not sure if anybody managed to catch this setup because that's one of our signature patterns. So those are the two setups for today. And the second one was confirmed with a nice baseline bounce on the TDI. I'm not sure if anybody caught that trade. These are just the disadvantages of coming to the charts late. So on this one, I'll take full responsibility. My apologies. Right, let's see. One entry I did. Okay, awesome stuff, bro. I'm glad you took it. So let me see if we're going to get a continuation. So looking at the daily, the price action looks perfect for a sell. Just based on this price action, it looks perfect for a sell. But again, like I mentioned, I think yesterday, we need to get a close below this zone, this gray zone you see here. We need a close below that zone. Once we get a close below that zone, I feel like this price will continue all the way down to this to these lows here from May. I feel like we'll get there. So I would love to see how today's candle closes. And we will most likely, if we do close below or if we do close nicely bearish like this, tomorrow will actually be a best day to get sells on C1000. So we do have a selling bias. Let's see if we can get another sell entry. Looking on the 4-hour, besides this zone which we have, I do have an imbalance which I'm seeing right here. So for me, that's a point of interest for sales, and this is the 4-hour time frame. That's the only point of interest for sales which I have at this point in time. If we drop to H1, H1, I would love to see price come back above this order block. So this move will either happen later in the day or it could happen early hours of tomorrow. So I would rather, I think for this, I'll stoke it. On your sell, I'm not sure what was your entry price on the sell because this move here, it dropped about, it's actually 50 pips. I'm not sure where your entry was because I think for this, it's okay to scale out because I feel like price can most likely retrace back up to take our liquidity above this and tap into this H4 imbalance. For me, personally, that's my point of view. And on TDI, I would love to see maybe something like a baseline bounce here, confirming that sell, or maybe a 50 static bounce, confirming that sell. So for now, I feel like I'll be very patient with this. Just wait for the retracement. Of course, price can just continue down. If you're in the trade, I would advise you to scale out or just follow your trading plan. When you took the trade, just follow your trading plan, what you had planned. But personally, for me, I've missed that sell. So I'll wait for price to pull back into this H1OB and come slightly above. So I'll say that's my point of interest. So this gray zone is sort of, okay, let me just leave it there. Let me just leave it there for analysis purposes. So H1, we're going to wait for price to retrace into an OB before we actually look for sales. So that's my view on C1000. B5, 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 B5. I took it yesterday. I took it right here. So what happened is I had this range marked out as per analysis number 1, and I had this order block here marked out as per analysis number 2. So when I saw this rejection, number 1, and price spiking below this and not closing below this, I was like, okay, this price is now ready to push back up. So I took my buy with my stop loss right below that spike, right below that spike. And what happened is the next candle, for some reason, they threw a very solid candle, which just took me out. And I think, yeah, this was an evening trade. If I'm not mistaken, what time was this? What time was this? I did not get into this trade. I remember after this loss, I was just done for the day. I was like, no, let me just close my charts. So funny enough, I came back to the charts and I noticed this is what happened. So if I was on the charts, I was going to execute again right here. But again, it is what it is. I took that loss, but price eventually pushed to this zone, extended all the way. I think it was 100 plus pips on this move. I'm also not sure if anybody managed to catch it. But yeah, it was an evening trade. So this is 2 a.m., 1, 12, 11, 10, 9. It was around 9 p.m. South African time, or GMT plus 2. So usually I also hate trading that time because, swap time will be approaching. That's also one of the reasons I decided not to re-enter the trade as well. Just close my charts. But again, those are some of the things which happen because people ask, what do you see to know that price will not play out? You simply have to follow price candle for candle. So if I was monitoring, I could have traded again, but with swap, I don't think I would have acted on this setup. But again, that was the setup, and this move just took me out there. So yeah, that happens with trading. So looking at it today, what are we looking forward to? We've been in a strong sell motion. We started pushing up as a retracement. So the buy was a retracement, just coming back to the 13 EMA. And let's see if we've managed to tap above here. Did we manage to tap 55.12? Or maybe we should say 55.15 for now. Let's say 55.15, just rounding it up. Then we're going to modify it a bit. Okay, I think it's actually perfect. So if you notice, price hasn't really tapped into 55.15, which gives me that bias, that price might still push up there. But at the same time, if you notice, we are rejecting the 13 EMA, which is a dynamic resistance. So two things can happen here. This price can push up to 55.15. That's a very possible play. Or they might push down since they've rejected the 13 EMA. Those are two things which can happen right now. So confluence is to buy. Do I have any confluence here? On H4, not really, except the 13 EMA, maybe this zone which was broken yesterday, but not so clear for me. So let me check if I can use the H1 rather. So on H1, since I'm targeting 55.15, it's just a potential target. What I would rather do here is I would run a fib. Run my fib from this low to this high. Right, after running my fib, what is my fib lining up with? So 38.2 is lining up with this order block here. That means if the H1 candle or H1 price action, if they turn green and close above the 13 EMA, I'll consider taking another buy. I'll consider taking a buy there. If we turn green right there, I'll definitely consider taking a buy. So at any point, if we do get a green candle coming to close above, I'll take a buy based on what I've just mentioned. Impulsive move, fib retracement, 38.2 OB, a green candle will just confirm direction, and I'll take that, and I'll target 55.15. That's the first scenario. Scenario number 2 is price might retrace a bit down into the 50 level. So on the 50 level, if we look to the left, we've got this order block here. That's where the red line is coming from, right there. So that's slightly below the 50 level, and it's also near the 50 EMA. So that's also a point of interest, and we could get an ID 1350 cross and a retest of the 50 for a continuation up. That's another possible play which could happen. But to just summarize it all, I would say if you're using moving averages, just wait for your price to come back above the 13 EMA or above any moving average you're using, or at least above this order block. Then we can consider buys. So we're just going to keep it simple. As long as we stay below the 13 EMA, this price might simply continue on that bullish run, which has been happening. But again, if we come back above the OB, nice green close, we're going to look for a short-term buy back to around 55.15. So I'd say that's my view for B500 at the moment, and I'll just patiently wait for that. Then B1, I think you guys were stalking B1 if I'm not mistaken. If you notice, I actually took a glance at it earlier and I put this order block. So I was looking at the 50 EMA and I was looking at this order block and I needed a solid rejection here. So this price action was not enough for me to execute. So there was no trade. TDI also did not confirm anything for me. So there was no trade. So how are we looking at it today? Let's see. Oh, yeah, let's talk about yesterday first. Yesterday, I remember I shared a signal here. You see this pattern here, and what is forming right now is the same thing. If you notice, it's the same thing. So one thing which I'll just share, this is the same thing. You can see it's a failed pattern. This is what we call a failed pattern. Patterns only fail if you are trading against the main trend. So let's see what the main trend is. The main trend is a downtrend. As you can see, solid bearish. We slowed down bearish yesterday, then today most likely bearish as well. But I'm still open to buying back into the moving averages. If my price comes back above the 13 EMA, I can still consider a buy, right? But remember, as long as your price, okay, let me put it this way. If price is in a downtrend and it's boom, remember on the booms, we only look for buys, right? So if price is in a downtrend, just remember you get a lot of failed patterns, number one. Number two, if the pattern decides to play out, just scalp. Scalp the trade, take 20, 30 pips. For B1000, maybe you can target 40 to 50 pips on a move. Which is what I was targeting yesterday. If you notice, I even put this trend line and I was like, okay, you know what? If this price is going to play out, this would rather be my TP. I'm not expecting a big move. I know I'm trading against the trend, so I'm looking for a short-term buy. So I remember I shared this signal in the group. So that's the explanation why the trade failed. So today, more or less the same thing. It doesn't look like this price wants to go up. Even if you look at the day, at the H1 candles, yesterday we did not get a close above. So our entry was early, number one. It failed to continue up, number two. So failed entry. Same applies today. If we are looking for buys, remember we need a nice solid close above the 13 EMA for us to actually look for a continuation up. So right now, what I would say is a point of interest. If we are looking for buys, I would say let's rather focus on this order block here. Right? We focus on this order block. Why are we focusing on that order block? Just because from this low, we had this order block. So price broke, came back to retest, pushed up. So are they coming back to retest here for a continuation up? That's possible, but it's not a guarantee because remember the daily has been bearish and it could continue being bearish. But right now it's currently green, meaning it's bullish. So if we do get anything confirming a buy, then we can execute a buy without fail. So again, I'll just want to monitor the top of this candle wick. It's actually an order block in my books. So if we get a reaction here and there's no other green candle, that will make it an order block. And if it's broken, that becomes a safe buy area for a short-term buy. The buys are still short-term still until we get a nice solid daily bullish candle showing us that we are now in a buy price delivery. So for now, any buys we take on our B1000 will actually be short-term. So we'll just see This order block here on H1, I'll say that's my point of interest, which is around 15,375 to 15,345. Okay, 15,375, that's my point of interest, to 15,345. I think that's about what, 30 pips if you are going to take this trade. But again, rather wait for a reaction first before you execute, because this price might just continue pushing down. So if we break this and come below, just know that that bearish move we have will continue. We might get an intraday reversal later on in the day. That's possible, but we don't want to bank on it that much. So I'd say this one, let's exercise extreme patience with it, and we're going to leave it on H1, and we're just going to be stalking. If we do get a confirmation, then we'll execute. No confirmation, no trade. Then step index. Did we speak of step yesterday? All right. I don't know if any of you guys caught this. Let's see. All right, we had this tap into this imbalance. We spoke about this imbalance, right? So we had a tap yesterday and price fell down, and we also took out liquidity here and price came up. So I want to drop down to M15 so that I can explain both of these setups. All right, we're just going to keep it simple. Remember, we've got an imbalance which we marked on whatever session we had, because I remember talking about that imbalance on the daily. And number two, we had this red line on the bottom. So what happened, you could have traded this two ways. If you're paying attention to the liquidity being taken on the bottom, okay, so we've got a nice little W pattern here, right? We do have TDI showing us signs crossing above the yellow baseline, TDI squeeze and price coming out of the bands and the bands opening. This here is just showing that whatever is happening here, there is momentum, right? So we've got TDI confirmation to whatever is going on. So lowest low, order block, break of order block, retest, trade. We have another zone, a break, trade. Sometimes you don't get retests. So depending with your buyers, as long as you know where price is going, of which in this example, we knew we had a D1 or a daily imbalance at the top. So as long as you know where price is going, the only thing you need to look for is reasons to buy, reasons to buy. So we only had two reasons to buy here. The first one being a break of an order block here at a retest, number one. Impulsive move. This was also an order block here, a retest. So that was number two. And price just accelerated to the top. They didn't even give any chance for those who were late. Then what happens soon as we hit the imbalance? Imbalance is in line with the previous day's high, number one. So we hit it, we dropped down. Then we hit that imbalance nicely here. So that's the highest high of the day. This is the order block. We broke the order block. We retraced back a little bit into this imbalance. So let's say somebody might say, okay, how do I know that that's an imbalance, or how do I execute? Let's keep it simple. Let's zoom in and let me explain on that. So from this highest high, as price is coming down, isn't we've broken an order block? You're going to mark your imbalance there, put your rectangle and wait. You're not in the trade. You're not sure whether price wants to continue up or down. What happens next after the imbalance has been hit? This D1 imbalance, price drops, right? Leaves another imbalance now. They retrace into the imbalance and they reject it. If you are doubting, just wait for this bearish candle to close. Remember, this is M15, and that's enough price action for you to execute a sell. So from there, sell, your stop loss is just above that last high. Stop loss, TP, target 1:3. If it's step index, I usually scalp if I'm trading. Always. I do not really hold that much. So you could have targeted either the 50 EMA, number one. You could have targeted this order block here, or you could have targeted the day's lows. So 3 points of taking profit, and all those points were pretty much simple and straightforward. It's always hard to take a sell when you see your price going up. I know it's hard for everyone, but remember, for you to make money, you have to risk. So if you see something familiar, something we talk about, imbalances, order blocks, the highest high, the peak, the imbalance. All these things are just confluences, which are things we talk about every day. So as soon as you see them, execute your trade, scalp, day trade, or whatever, take your profits. So that was yesterday's setup. Then today, so again, remember there is no, okay, somebody might say, okay, I don't think I would have traded because price was still above the 13 EMA. That's a very valid point. Sometimes it's always good to wait for sell setup. So let's say you waited for this close. Where could you have entered, right? So before we talk about today, just going to keep it simple. This candle closed right here, right? That's the H1 candle. It's closed below the 13 EMA. We do have this order block in hindsight. So let's not forget about that, right? So jump down to M15. Do you see where that H1 candle closed? It closed right below the 15 EMA, right? When it closed, let's agree that the price continued pushing down. I'm not sure if it lines up, but you see that we had this order block, or the level which was broken was then retested. That again is its entry and the stop loss in the TP. Entry, stop loss. Remember, we had this order block, which was also a TP. So now if you're scalping, you're just paying attention to whether price wants to bounce and push up, or they are continuing down to your next TP. So some of these things, they just have to be trial and error. But if you've got a trading system which you trust, just follow your system, execute. It really doesn't have to be mine. It can be your own, it can be somebody else's. But as long as you understand what price is doing, where it's going, I feel like trading will become a little bit easier. So if you're on H1, then that would have been your potential entry. You could have still even taken a trade at the break. You see this structure here, it was broken and retested here. Then this structure, it was broken, retested here, retested here. Multiple entries there you could have entered. And as long as you're below the 50, just know you're in line with the trend and you shouldn't really doubt. So there we go. That break and the retest of the 13 EMA, pretty simple and straightforward there. So it's either you understand your price, enter right here, because on H1, these three candles alone, or even these two, that's a sign that price is reversing. When this third one comes retracing into the fair value gap on M15, already you're in the trade. So let's say you are doubting, just have one position, small one. There's nothing wrong with that. It won't hurt your account. Execute. Then once the trade becomes safe, then you can scale in. So today, what are we looking at? Jumping into the day, I feel like price can still push down based on these rejections I'm seeing on the 50 EMA. Price also failed to break above the body. How do I put this? Okay, English is not my first language. You guys have to just forgive me. Okay, you see these candlestick bodies, they are like in a line and they're failing to break above this line. That already should be a clue of what to anticipate. All right, let's see. We'll watch when I'm on. Okay, that's fine, bro. You can still catch up later. We'll talk. Thank you for joining. Thank you for making time. All right, so continuing with step, right? Candlesticks are failing to break, right? So once you see price failing to break a certain level, no matter what you trade, currencies, indices, crypto, if you follow BTMM, that setup has got a name. I think it's called Code of Wood, COW. But again, names, you can name it anything. But as long as your bodies, candlestick bodies are failing to break a level, just know that you're already leaning to go to the other side, right? So you're looking for sales. To see where the sales might go, they might come to today's lows, they might come to this red line, because if you notice, price is sort of respecting that red line. They're failing to come below, failing to come below. So this here will already be a TP in my books. So on these rejections, you want to locate a pattern on M15. First things first, locate the highest high, locate the order block. Second thing, we need a break of the order block, and you sell right on the break with a stop loss above that last high. Number two, you can wait for a retest of the order block, continuation down, enter. This is our TP, right? Again, price actually dropped, retrace dropped. So if you're sure of where price is going, do not hesitate to put a fib, because from every high to every low, okay, so from this high to this low, we ran a fib, they retraced into 61.8, they dropped. The next impulsive move from this high to this low, throw it into the future, drag it into the future, price retraced into the 50% level, and now we're dropping. And most likely, we've already hit TP1, as you can see, and most likely we'll hit TP2. But again, I came to the charts a bit late today. So all these setups I'm explaining now, they've already happened. Some might argue that, okay, you might not see this as it is happening, but I'm just stating my trading system here. If I was looking at this, I would have most likely traded in this way. So on this particular setup, price will most likely get to TP2. Then from there, they might retrace, they might do something else. This level has been holding price for quite some time. So we'll just see what happens. Daily, if we can break that red line, daily will definitely see this price come down to this bottom of this range for this month, right? So we know where price will most likely get to. We need price to break this red line. So what we're saying is, if we get an impulsive move now on H1 and we break and close below this line, we're going to run a fib to wherever. Then we're going to wait for a retracement. Then we're going to jump into a sell and we're going to hold it until we get to this 79.70 at least as a TP. So I hope this makes sense. If you guys need more help, don't hesitate to hit me up on Telegram. If you need mentorship, don't hesitate to hit me up on Telegram. If you like the way I trade, my trading system, if you like in-depth materials on how I trade, or an in-depth, how do I put it, explanation of how I trade, hit me up on Telegram. Of course, some of the things will come free, some of them will come at a fee. It just depends with the timing. If I've got a lot of time on my hands, I can do it for free. But if my schedule is a bit packed, then most of the things will go into the premium schedule so that we can learn as a group with the other members who are on the premium premium course. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. I hope today will be productive for everybody. We are getting ready to jump into New York session as we speak. So like I mentioned, it's New York session. New York session actually has started like an hour 30 ago, but I usually trade at the stock market opens, which is in 5 minutes from now. So getting ready for that. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. I want to speak of J10 now. It's a little bit too late. I need to get ready for NY. So just a recap, step index. If we break here, we are looking for a continuation to the downside. We're going to run a fib. If we respect this area, price might still come take out these highs, still come back up here, then come back down. So again, remember to trade what you see, not what I say. B1, we're waiting for confirmation. Same applies to B5. C1000, we're waiting for a retracement. Might be a trade for the evening or early hours tomorrow. C5, we're waiting for a break of this order block or for price to tape into this order block. Those are my only 2 points of interest for now. And C300, I'm waiting for them to come into this gray zone you see. And yeah, we'll call it a day. So if you can catch one out of everything I've explained, you only need to catch one setup to call it a good day. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. If you watched until the end, thank you so much. Let me know how your trading journey is going in the comments. And if these sessions are helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Yeah, just show support, man. Show some support, show some love. And yeah, let's all grow. 6 months left to end the year. Let's put in the work. Thank you so much, guys, for training.